report, correct anything significant that you're looking at that you just don't quite understand, or what you don't think is accurate. The other way, I mentioned there were two ways. One is the website. The other might be to come into the credit union, talk to a loan officer, see if they would be willing to pull it to go through it with you, or if you're buying a car or refinancing, definitely sit down with someone who's knowledgeable about it and go through it line by line. The thing about the credit reports is that they're written in a way that the average person is probably not going to fully understand all of the codes and symbols and all of that. So if you do pull it and you're interested, I'm sure someone at the branch would be willing to go through it with them and figure out what might be erroneous in there that you could correct. By the way, there is a handout that goes along with this seminar that we didn't get printed but will be on the website and will be available for you to download. On the back, there is a dispute letter that you can copy and paste word for word into a letter if there is something in error on your credit report. And by sending that in, by law, the credit bureau has 30 days to respond. And if it's not accurate, if they can't prove that it's accurate, then they have to wipe it off your credit report. So that's something that would be helpful.
I have another
Yes.
question. If you have a credit card from a company and the company isn't here anymore, how do you get rid of that? Because it still shows on your credit report. How do you get rid of that? Because you can't get a hold of the company anymore because they're not around anymore.
Right. Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for that. You kind of have to let it be. Just let it lie. If it's reporting inaccurately, that would be a problem, and you could go to TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian and have them resolve that issue. But for the most part, if it's not hurting you in some way, then it's probably helping you for the longevity of the account.
Yeah, I mean, it's been zero forever, but it's like sitting there and they've been closed forever.
Yeah. Typically, I'll see that on homemakers accounts. Somebody will buy furniture at homemakers. They'll have bought it 6 years ago. The account's still open. It still shows active. But they're like, I didn't even know that was still around.
But I mean, the company is gone.
Right.
Homemakers still.
Right. Yeah, even companies that are gone, they're not reporting anymore. And generally speaking, if a company does close, on the credit bureau, it will say account closed by creditor. And in that case, it's pretty much over and done with. It's just still on your bureau. Yeah, good question. Any other questions on that?
Okay, I have one that...
Please.
It's Yonkers, and it says that it's active and open.
Yep.
But if I go to Yonkers, they'll tell me it's closed. Do I care about that?
Probably not. Is it showing zero balance? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
I just didn't know if it was like if you have too many credit cards open, but...
Right. No, I wouldn't worry about that. Don't close unused accounts in good standing. This kind of goes back to, those ones that are long-standing ones that are still good. There's nothing negative. You don't want to close those because that's actually a ding against you in terms of the length of the credit history. I mentioned this, don't open several new accounts in a short period. Generally happens at Christmas time. And lastly, have a good mixture of credit cards and installment loans. So I've met people who say, got into trouble with credit cards, don't want them anymore. I'm just going to avoid them at all costs. While I fully understand why you would do that, it actually is a bit of a detriment to your score because having a credit card at least showing up on your credit bureau is positive for your score itself, along with an installment loan and a mortgage if possible. Lastly, work with us to boost your score. This is something that actually it's kind of a challenge for me to sit down with someone's credit bureau and find ways to increase their score. So if you are at a threshold where you want to get higher, there are some ways, again, to artificially boost it. One is if you've got one credit card, if you've got 3 credit cards, but one of them is carrying the big balance, so you've got $8,000 on a $10,000 limit card, that's actually negatively affecting your score because you're at 80% credit utilization. So to boost your score, you might want to take $2,000 from that and put it over here, and $2,000 from one and put it over here, and now you're at 20% on 3 of them, which actually increases your score a little bit. So does that make sense? So no?
Who is us, is my question. Are you talking about Capital Credit?
Capital, yeah, yep. Yeah, or I mean, and I'm more than happy if you have questions. I'll meet with people individually and go through credit scores with them. So, again, it's sort of a game for me. Having been through the system and knowing all the things that credit bureaus and reporting agencies do, one of the things that I'll mention is that if what shows up on a number of people's reports are medical collections. And I have a lot of friends who, the first thing they want to do is take care of their medical collections. And in reality, it's actually one of the last things that you should do is take care of medical collections, because they're going to sit out there for a long time, and they're not as aggressive about going after the consumer as, say, a factoring account, somebody where you've closed a credit card account or stopped paying on a credit card and they send that to collections. Those people will be very, very aggressive. For medical collections, generally speaking, they're going to accept 30 cents on the dollar for whatever your balance is on the collection. So if it says, hey, you owe $500 on this medical collection, and someone happens to call you about it, or you decide to call and get it resolved on your credit report, you're going to say, hey, listen, I'll give you $100, and let's just call this good. And what you're requesting when you do that is a paid in full letter. And what happens is when you negotiate the payoff on a collection and you say, I'll pay this, but only after you send me a paid in full letter. And a paid in full letter says, we agree that if you pay $100, we will wipe off this $500 charge as paid in full. And that's what you're looking to get. So again, one of the things that we try and do, and I'm sure Capital View would help with this, is we try and help people get out of some of the collection issues that they're in and get them negotiated down as low as possible.
Okay, I'm still confused. Who is we?
Well, I personally work for the Iowa Credit Union Foundation.
Okay.
So it could either be through us or it could be through a loan officer at Capital View. Make sense?
So when you say you can contact me direct,
Mm-hmm.
how do we do that?
I'll give you a business card.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So any other questions? Yes?
Is it better to, because I know they say, credit card companies hate the people that pay their credit cards off every single month. That doesn't hurt your credit score. It does hurt your credit score.
It does not hurt your credit score. Technically, you're known as a deadbeat to credit card companies.
I'm a deadbeat,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, credit card companies don't like people who pay their balance off every month because they don't make any money on
Well,
us.
they make money off the fee they charge the company.
They do that.
For charging.
Yeah, they definitely do that.
Yeah.
There was an interesting. There's a woman named Elizabeth Warren who is a Harvard professor that she was running for an office. It was basically an oversight office over the entire financial system. And she was at a meeting speaking to a bunch of credit card execs, and she said, ladies and gentlemen, I've done the math, I've figured this out. If all you did was simply not offer credit to folks in this credit score range, you would literally be able to get rid of all of your charge-offs every single year. And they all kind of murmured amongst themselves, and someone in the back of the room stood up and said, Ms. Warren, we appreciate your insight on that. However, if we did that, we would not make any profit whatsoever. And so they know, credit card companies know who they're going after and where they're making money and things like that. But it does not affect you negatively. Although I will tell you that your credit score is a snapshot in time. So if you went out and you charged a vacation on your credit card, which you fully intended on paying off in the next 30 days, if someone grabbed your credit and it showed that balance was on there, that would affect your score in some way. So there's never ever a static credit score. It fluctuates all the time based on what's showing up on your credit report.
How long do the medical things stay on there?
They can stay on forever. I mean, yeah.
Because I have one that I actually paid the bill, but he says I didn't pay it timely, and so he charged me a $50 late fee. So it's the $50 late fee on there, and I refuse to pay it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So
I would challenge that. And that showing up, they're probably doing just to kind of get a dig in on you and your credit score, because it would affect it a little bit. So I would try and contact someone at the company and get that resolved if I were you, Aaron. The way to do that, and in calling any kind of collection agency, the first person that you talk to is always empowered to say no, but they're never empowered to say yes. So as soon as someone says, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that, you say, may I speak to your manager?
well, it's just a little dentist office.
Oh, okay. And it's still showing up.
I don't know. I have to check again to
Okay.
see if it's still there.
Yeah, I would check on that.
He was just being a jerk.
Yeah.
He overcharged the insurance company too, for that matter.
Right.
So I really wanted to go after him for that, but they won't. They wouldn't do
Yeah.
that.
I would challenge it. Maybe if you wanted to, you could send a dispute letter, and and then the onus would be on them to prove it, which a dental office doesn't want to do. So it would probably have to be wiped away because they couldn't prove that it was
What do you
accurate.
what do you dispute that because it was mine, but
You're disputing the fact that you paid any late payments, or that you basically made payment in full, and he's just charging this to be a stinker. Yeah. Yes.
I do have kind of a funny story, but it happened years ago. We went to get a car, and they said, we waited, and they said, well, there's a ding against your history. We're like, for what? What could it be? And it was 3 years after we got married. When my husband went and got his blood test, he didn't pay the $15 charge, but they never called him on it because it was during the wedding, and we moved, and they kept sending it to the old address, but they never called his phone number to say, hey, you owe this. And so that was sitting there for 3 years, $15 for a blood test to get married.
Absolutely.
Yeah.